myself Chandrasekhar Pandey, Professor in Department of Siddhant Darshan, Faculty of Ayurveda, Institute of Medical Sciences, Banaras Hind University. Today I am going to discuss about the basic features of the Ayurveda, because Ayurveda is the most misconceived entity, and these misconceptions are equally distributed from very high educated persons to a layman, and that's why each and every one has its own concept about the Ayurveda, like the 𝐻𝐿 𝐏𝐚𝐬𝐤, अंधों का हाथी. All has observed rightly. वो observed the legs, the elephant is like the pillar. वो observed the tail, elephant is like the jhadu. Each and everyone observed it rightly, but the wholesome observation was not true. So the same thing is being proliferated about the concept of the Ayurveda. What concepts are there? I made a survey. There are some concepts and some misconceptions. And as I previously told, it is equally distributed. That person may be very high literate, that person may be illiterate. Ayurveda is an old Indian way of treatment. It is very common concept that Ayurveda is what? It is an Indian way of treatment. Second one is it deals with the jadi booty, that is the crude and raw drugs. Means to say the domain of the Ayurvedic medicament is limited to the jadi booties, that is the crude and raw drugs. Ayurveda is based on the experience-based formulation. This concept, experience-based formulation. Someone has given something, observed the effect, and an empirical observation and its formulation like the नुस्खा is being proliferated, distributed and used, and it doesn't have any scientific rationality. So Ayurveda is based on some experience-based formulation, that is the नुस्खा, and it is without any scientific rationality. This is the misconception. Ayurvedic drugs are miraculous and can treat any disease. This is a two-way difficulty, some by the persons having the knowledge about the Ayurveda and some by the pharma companies. They say it is Ayurvedic drugs, it can treat any disease. This is also a misconception. Ayurvedic drugs are not harmful. It is also a misconception. Any drug with improper use can harm the person. It has no specialty-based facilities. It is also a common misconception that there is no specialty-based facilities. आपके यहाँ सर्जरी होती है, आपके यहाँ कान के भी डॉक्टर होते हैं, आपके यहाँ बच्चों के भी डॉक्टर हैं, आपके यहाँ दवाइयों के बारे में. Their concept is that there is a single person who is well versed in each specialty and there is no specialty-based facility. There is no scope of interventional technique of the Ayurveda. This is very common, proliferated and expounded by the Ayurvedic persons also. That there must be a person who check the nadi and provide the medicine or the medicament of some jadi booty type. There is no interventional technique. This is the Ayurveda. And if you are using any interventional technique, you are not Ayurvedic. So this misconception is very highly proliferated. Ayurvedic ras aushadhi are very much dangerous. Especially metallic preparations are very much dangerous for the liver and kidneys. It is also a very intelligent misconception between the intelligents. So without any proper observation, such a type of fallacies are going on. Ayurveda has no scientific temper. It is a jadi booty nuskha based medication with empirical observations and no scientific temperament. It has to be validated. It has to be scientifically evaluated, like the terminologies are going on. and the person they uses it from the dais and go away without listening the person's sitting off the dais. The Ayurvedic Vaidya, that may be physician or surgeon, must be a person with certain disguise. You are wearing such a disguise, how you can be Vaidya? You must be the Chandan Dukulavrit. You must wear the dhoti, kurta, chandan. Then only you looks like a Vaidya. So it is also very a specific misconcept. Then what is Ayurveda? What are the domains of the Ayurveda? How we can conceive the real meaning of the Ayurveda? Just I am trying to provide the some groups of the concepts. What is Ayurveda? Very common concept is Ayurveda, the science of life, science of Ayu. Correct? You are right. It is the science of the Ayu, and Ayu is the Sanyog of Sharir, Indri, Man, and Atma. Mind it, it is the Sanyog of. And what is Sanyog? Sanyog is very specific terminology used by the ancient scientists. Samyak Yoga Sanyoga. Samyak Yoga means proper, desirable, needed, essential combination or assembling of the things. You cannot get a desired effect without proper combination. Sanyogat Srishti. Whole the universe is outcome or resultant of the Sanyog. We are talking here on some gadgets, something is being recorded. It is also Sanyog Visheshat. If you disrupt any IC, all the process will be checked. Light is there, electricity is there, the camera is going on. It all is due to the particular Sanyoga of certain ICs and certain tools and techniques. So Sanyoga means Samyak Yoga. Each and every creation needs certain Sanyoga. And more specifically, Kal Disha Sapech Sanyoga. Kal Disha Sapech. What is Kal? Kal means time factor. Sarva Atitad Vyavhar Hetu Kala. Whensoever you used the chronology of the event, when you want to produce the chronology of the event, the dimension used is the time. We cannot create a chronology of the event from milliseconds to multiple years of the Yugad. The time being, the dimension used is the Kal. And what is Disha? Disha is the dimension by which we can produce that which thing is where. Itah yata istas tatah. This thing is here, that thing is there. For this you can create a frame of reference, because in universe each and everything is moving. So absolutely you cannot mark anything that where it is. Mostly we mark the sunrise, and from that we create the Disha. It is Purva, it is Paschim, it is Uttar, it is Dakshin. Likewise the corners, likewise the up and down. Each and every Disha is a relative entity. And in universal preposition, the position of the Graha, position of the Nakshatra are being taken into consideration to modulate or to identify the direction. So, itah yatah itas tatah. Iti bodhaka disha. The dimension which tells it is the disha, and dimension which tells the chronology of the event is the Kal. So, Kal disha sapekshe Samyak Yoga Sanyoga. What we are going to assemble must function according to its need of the time, and where it must be according to the direction. We cannot make a bike by assembling the wheel in the on the place of handle. So each and everything must be on its own place and function on its own time. Then only a gadget may work, and non-living thing may work like the living. So Kal Disha Sapeksha Sanyoga Sanyoga. So science of Ayu. Science of Ayu means Ayu is the Sariri, Indri, Man and Atma, Sanyog. So not the congruence, not the collection, not just a assembling, but Kal Disa Sapech Sanyoga Ayu. Second, Ayurveda is the science of health. It is true, but not wholesome. It is science of the health, dealing with the health, but it is only dealing with the health is not the reality. It is dealing with the processes to get the health. It is dealing with the processes to get the ultimate pleasure, Satya Buddhi and Moksha Pravartaka. And that's why in Charak Samhita it is stated that Ayurveda is the science, not only dealing with the health, but we are going to expound the science which is good for this world and beyond this world. Vakshate yan manushyanam lokayor ubayor hitam. I am going to expound the science which is good for the human being, for this world and beyond this world. We are covering both the areas. So Ayurveda is the such big science, and Ayurveda is the way of living. It is also a tradition to say Ayurveda is way of living. Yes, exactly. Because what we modulate, what we do, how we convert illness into health, or how we preserve the health, all is governed by the way of living. And way of living is also a process. So we can conceive the Ayurveda as the total amalgamation of all the three processes. It is just the sanyoga of all the three processes. We are just, for purpose of the explanation, we classify them as the science of Ayu, the science of health and way of the living being. But Ayurveda is a wholesome sanyoga of all the three processes. When we used to say Ayurveda, how it is incarnated, how it is originated, what are the constituents of the life, cause behind the origin of the life, how, क्यों सृष्टि उत्पन्न हो गई? Is there any factor? There is no सृष्टि. Sabhinanjan Sankasa Rashtakrit Baranna. Each and everything was in a Sankhya Darshan, it is says Avyakta. Avyakta means unmanifested. Nothing, you cannot say anything. It is material, it is energy, or whatsoever it is. There is nothing to identify. Avyakta. And from there, each and every Vyakta thing. So, what is the causes behind the origin of life, and what is the factors responsible for the life? These are the domains of the Ayurvedic description. How life is originated, what were the factors responsible for the origin of the life, what are the constituents of the life. If you don't have these constituents, there will be no life. What is the causes behind the origin of life, and factors responsible for the life are the criteria or the domain for the discussion of the Ayurveda. Very easily it is explained that for the creation there must be three basic causes. If you want to create something, there must be three basic causes. One first cause is called the Samvai Karan, means the coherent cause. If you are creating something, there must be some material by their own sanyog, it is going to produce the effect. Suppose we want to create the cloth, there must be the threads. We want to create this table, this chair, there must be some wood, some mica, some material. So without material, you cannot create anything. The thing, the material, the root cause, which convert itself into the cause, into the effect, is the Samvai Karan. If there is no Samvai Karan, this is iron chair. If you reduce the iron from the chair, there will not be any chair. If you reduce the threads from the cloth, there will not be any cloth. So Samvai Karan means the causes by their own transformation, they give rise to the effect. Asamvai karan. I'm not going to explain the asamvai karan. Third is the nimitta karan. Nimitta karan means instrumental factors. Who is the creator? Suppose it is cloth. So who has converted these threads into the cloth? It is chair. Who has converted this iron into chair? Who has converted this uh, wood into the chair? Means the instruments, the carpenter, other factors, they are the nimitta karan. And what is this asamvai karan? Asamvai means which is not coherent. Non-coherent means it is not continuously attached with the cause or effect, but it is attached with the cause and effect. And it is very difficult to explain because the references has been given very intelligently to explain. So what is the non-coherent causes? Is the process. Suppose it's the thread, there is the person to make it into cloth, but he has to do some processing. ऊन है, एक महिला स्वेटर बुन रही है, स्वेटर बुनने की जो प्रोसेस है वो असमवायी कारण है, क्योंकि जैसे ही स्वेटर बुन जाता है, काम खत्म हो जाता है, बुनाई की प्रोसेस रोक दी जाती है. बट माइंड इट, द बुनाई, द स्टिचिंग is still coherent. It is not non-coherent. अगर आप बुनाई खोल देंगे तो फिर वो ऊन हो जाएगा, फिर वो स्वेटर नहीं रहेगा. थ्रेड्स को खोल करके अगर हम कर दें तो थ्रेड्स हो जाएंगे, वो कपड़ा नहीं रहेगा. लकड़ियों को खोल दें तो लकड़ी हो जाएंगी, मेज नहीं रहेगी. इसीलिए कहा गया कि यह कभी समवायी और कभी कार्य और कभी कारण के साथ अटैच्ड होता है. सो प्रोसेसिंग एंड द प्रोसेस्ड both are the non-coherent cause. विकास प्रोसेस जो प्रोसेस्ड हो चुका है, बुनावट क्या है, ये कोहेरेंट काज है. बुनावट को खोल देने से कपड़ा नहीं रहेगा, लेकिन बुनाई की प्रक्रिया, खाना बनाने की प्रक्रिया, लकड़ी मेज बनाने की प्रक्रिया, कुर्सी बनाने की प्रक्रिया, ये जैसे ही कार्य खत्म होता है समाप्त हो जाती है. इसलिए असमवायी कारण मीन्स नॉन कोहेरेंट काज में बी एक्सप्लेन्ड एज द प्रोसेसिंग. सो इफ यू वांट टू सी द फैक्टर्स behind the creation of the universe or the ayu or the body or anything, these three factors may be taken into the consideration. Very intelligent questions has been asked in our literature. One said, you say the universe is created, then who has created the universe? If say the God has created, then from where the material was taken? If you say the God is material, then who has done? Then an example has been given. यथा ओरणा स्वनाभिष्य. उसने कहा मकड़ी को देखा है? कहा यस. कहा मकड़ी मटेरियल कहाँ से ले आती है? बनाती कौन है? ऐसे ही ईश्वर इसका निमित्तोपादान कारण है. वह निमित्त भी खुद है और उपादान भी स्वयं है इस सृष्टि का, और इसीलिए अपने में समेट भी लेती है. These are the examples, factors responsible for the health and disease. Not only health and disease, but creation of each and everything. First example is the factors responsible for the creation and the arrangement or finish of any creation. In a single shlok, very intelligently it has been dictated. ईशामेव हि भावानां संपत् संजयेन्नर तेषामेव विपत् व्याधिं विविधान् समुदीरयति. For creation and for disruption, you don't have to seek the different factors. ईशामेव, the arrangement of the same factors are responsible for the destruction and disease, whose arranged state is responsible for the creation and health. I told you previously that Sanyog, the Sanyog is responsible for the creation, and the disruption or Biyog or dearrangement of the same factors is responsible for the destruction or disease. जिन जिन भावों के संपत्त होने पर, प्रॉपर होने पर, एप्रोप्रिएट होने पर, नॉर्मल होने पर, डिजायरेबल स्टेट में होने पर जीवन की उत्पत्ति होती है, सृष्टि की उत्पत्ति होती है, शरीर की उत्पत्ति होती है, उन्हीं भावों के डीअरेंज हो जाने पर, इम्प्रॉपर हो जाने पर, एबनॉर्मल हो जाने पर उसका विनाश हो जाता है। वायु चल रही है, जल बरस रहा है, तापमान है, इन्हीं भावों को डीअरेंज कर दीजिए। टेम्परेचर इज वेरी हाई और वेरी लो, वायु इज वेरी हाई या वेरी लो, and each and every factors if you are taking into the consideration, just their balance leads to this srishti, and their disbalance or dearrangement leads to the destruction. So nothing is there. The factors responsible for your health is the arrangement of these factors. ब्लड प्रेशर घट गया तो खराब, बढ़ गया तो खराब, पर्टिकुलर इंजाइम घट गया तो खराब, बढ़ गया तो खराब, पर्टिकुलर रिएक्शन चल रहा है बॉडी में, बायोकेमिकल बायोफिजिकल, घट गया तो खराब, बढ़ गया तो खराब। उनकी अरेंज स्टेट ही हेल्थ है, और उनकी डी अरेंज स्टेट, सेम फैक्टर्स इन देयर डी अरेंज स्टेट लीड्स टू द डिस्ट्रक्शन एंड डिसीज। सो नो एक्स्ट्रा फैक्टर you have to take into the consideration. There is the dictum that no medicine can induce a new reaction in the body. Either it increases the bodily reaction or decreases. So you have to maintain the normalcy of the reactions, normalcy of the factors. Only this is the way to create the health and create the incarnation, सृष्टि की उत्पत्ति. And second is the very, very important, because it is the unique feature of the Ayurveda. Shareeram sattva sangyam cha vyadhi namashriyam. So easily they are telling, mind and body is the abode of diseases. Disease will be either in mind or in body. And tatha sukhanam, the same thing are the abode from the sukha or the pleasure. The same mind and body is the abode for health and abode for pleasure, when in respect to their attachment to the causative factor. If you are attaching them with the factors creating the sukh, you will achieve the sukh. If you are attaching them creating the factors dukh, you will achieve the dukh. It is you to create the sukh and dukh. It is not the body, not the functions. शरीर और मन व्याधियों के दो आश्रय हैं, और यही शरीर मन दुखों के भी आश्रय हैं, सुखों के भी आश्रय हैं। जब आप सुख उत्पन्न करने वाले कारणों से उनका संयोग करते हैं तो सुख उत्पन्न होगा, और जब दुख उत्पन्न करने वाले कारणों से उनका संयोग करते हैं तो दुख उत्पन्न होगा। From all the purposes of life going on up to the highest level of the चिकित्सा, the same factors are prevailing. They prevails. कोई व्यक्ति आया हमारे पास, चाकू लगा के आया, गोली लगा के आया, उसको सुख उत्पन्न करने वालों से संयोग कर देंगे, उसका हमने ब्लड चढ़ा दिया, उसकी फिजियोलॉजी मेंटेन कर दी, उसके पैथोलॉजिकल काजेस को खत्म किया, सुख उत्पन्न हो गया। और दुख उत्पन्न करने वालों से संयोग कर दिया, इम्प्रॉपर चेकिंग के बिना ब्लड लगा दिया, कुछ कर दिया, दुख उत्पन्न हो गया, जो बचा था वो भी समाप्त हो गया। तो इट इज वी दैट क्रिएट्स द प्लेजर एंड मिजरीज, बिकॉज it is we to attach ourselves with the factors causing the sukh and dukh. This is the biophysic approach of the Ayurveda. One approach is the holistic approach. Ayurveda came as whole, human bodies as whole. This approach was observed by the yogis. Yogis observed each and everything with their special power of observation. What I want to say, we are not having the special power of observation. We are having the specific power of observation. We cannot hear below the 20 up to the 20,000. 20 से 20,000 से आगे पीछे की कोई ध्वनि हम सुन नहीं सकते. It doesn't mean there is not frequencies. And we cannot see रेड से लेकर वायलेट तक, इसके आगे पीछे नहीं देख सकते. तो हमारी ये लिमिटेशन है. बट योगीज बाय देयर ओन प्रैक्टिसेस दे इंक्रीजेस देयर अप्रोच, देयर strength of the ज्ञानेंद्री, strength of the मन, and they can see many things which we don't see. Our brain is programmed to see the three-dimensional. Our brain is programmed to see particular frequency as this is red, this is violet, this is yellow, this is this. But the other persons and other jeev, even the dogs, cats, and there are many other animals which can perceive better than we people. So holistic approach by yogis, by increasing their observation capacity, they observe the universe in other way and say that this human body is the holistically to be approached, but due to our less power of brain, we cannot follow that process, and we approach it to the reductionist approach. We take a part, and by study of that part, this is the Gyanendri, it is wholesome body, then it is Gyanendri, but this is the Chakshuyendri, then it is the Chakshuyendri part, and each and every reductionist approach we commonly follow. So Ayurveda has both the approaches. For common people, the reductionist approach, and for the intelligent yogis and rishis, the holistic approach. Sarvabhavam parikshe, इंद्रियाणि च संक्षिप्य चंचल मन प्रविशंतुरात्मानं sarvabhavam parikshe. So it is the holistic approach by the yogis, but we as common people, we have to approach by the reductionist approach till we don't have that capacity. So Ayurveda has the both type of approaches. Ayurvedic approach to the knowledge. It is very important because in beginning I am saying just it is a nuskha based science. Ayurveda has three basic approaches to acknowledge something. First approach is called the darshan. Darshan means drishyate aneniti darshan, by which we can observe something. Or in nutshell, I state it as the process of observation. The science of observation is darshan. Mostly darshan is translated as philosophy, and philosophy is conceived as the science where nothing to see, nothing to observe, nothing to do. We are talking about the Atma, Paramatma, and all the things which we cannot perceive or cannot prove scientifically. No, that is wrong. Darshan is a certain process by which we can observe. In Ayurvedic text we see Parikshikarno hi kusala bhavanti. And basically when incarnation is started, Maharshyaste dadarshurya 𝐷𝐿 चक्षुषा सामान्यम च विशेषम च गुणानि द्रव्याणि कर्म च. Basically the knowledge came in the form of Hetulinga and Aushadhi. Hetulinga means causative factor, Linga means the symptomatology, characteristics of the diseases, and Aushadhi means the treatment process. But rishis, they don't accepted it without getting the cause behind, and they observe the cause, that how from hair to ling is evaluated, and by Aushadhi ling is specified. So samanyam cha vishesham cha gunani dravyani karma cha samvayam cha tad gyatva tantruktam vidhimastitam levire paramam sarvam jivitam chapinitvaram. So observation, the darshan was accepted as the science of observation. How you can observe something? And observation starts with the living being. And it is the unique process of every living being. It observes the surrounding and self. Every living being observes the surrounding and self. The number of the observation compels them to classify. Mind it. If you have the numbers of the observation, suppose it is a very primitive living being and it is observing in numbers of the observation, then their mind up to their own capacity will lead to the classification. And the science of classification starts with the Samanyan and Vishesh. Saman means similarities and Vishesh means dissimilarities for common purposes. It is a very specific terminology of the Ayurveda and Darshan Granth. So for all the common purposes, Samanya means similarities and Vishesh means dissimilarities. And it is Buddhyapech. Each and every one observes it by their own observation. I am observing it, it is fever. Expert observed, it is typhoid fever. And next expert observe it, it is this stage of typhoid fever. So each and everyone, according to their own intellect, can observe the Samanya and Vishesh and classify. So Samanya and Vishesh is the process where the observations are again being observed on the specific qualities. There are some discriminant. कुछ ऐसे भावों का हम वहाँ ज्ञान प्राप्त करते हैं जो उन्हीं में से सिमिलरिटीज को दिखाती हैं, डिसिमिलरिटीज को दिखाती हैं. Similarities and dissimilarity discriminant is the basic criteria for the classification. You cannot classify anything if it doesn't have even a single similarity or dissimilarity. No classification at all. You cannot create a group because a group must have some similarities, and a particular thing, if it is not in that group, it means certainly it has some specific features that is not being in the resemblance to that properties of that group. So Samanya and Vishesh is the just based on the discrimination property. It is the observation of discrimination. ये दाल है, डिस्क्रिमिनेंट आया अरहर की दाल है, डिस्क्रिमिनेंट आया इस वेराइटी के अरहर की दाल है. चावल है, अन्य अन्नों से भिन्न है, चावल है. चावल में और विशेषज्ञ आया, उसने डिस्क्रिमिनेट किया, ये बासमती चावल है, ये बासमती में भी इस वेराइटी का चावल है. सो बुद्ध्यापेक्ष अपनी बुद्धि के अनुसार जो डिस्क्रिमिनेंट हम यूज करते हैं, ये सामान्य एक छोटे से सिद्धांत से लेकर के विज्ञान के बड़े बड़े सिद्धांतों तक. ये क्या है? ये सब प्रोटीन ग्रुप है. ये प्रोटीन में से क्या है? ये एंजाइम ग्रुप्स हैं. इन एंजाइम ग्रुप्स में से ये क्या है? ये इस पर्टिकुलर उसके वाले ग्रुप हैं जहाँ ये रेडिकल लगा है. मीन्स टू से योर स्पेसिफिक ऑब्जर्वेशन ऑफ द डिस्क्रिमिनेंट लीड्स टू डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स and the science of classification starts. And third one is the science of cause and effect. Cause and effect is also a extension of the process of darshan. Just I said, the Samanya and Vishesh, the process of classification is also an extension of the process of observation and observing the discriminant. And cause and effect is the process of extension of observation as how it is produced, what are the causes behind its origin, and cause to effect and effect to cause. So these three are the specific process of the observation. Mind it, these three are the specific process of the observation. At particular stage, this observation is only the process observation, and that is darshan. At particular stage, when the observations are numerous and there is the discriminant between the processes, the science of classification involves. And when the factors responsible for the creation are the responsible factors responsible for the creation of particular karya, or the factors responsible for the creation of particular karya. कार्य से कारण और कारण से कार्य, दोनों तरफ जहां इस्टेब्लिश करने का रिलेशनशिप, सर्टेन रिलेशनशिप, समवाय रिलेशनशिप इस्टेब्लिश करने के प्रोसेस का ऑब्जर्वेशन होता है, दैट इज द कार्य कारक. सो दीज थ्री आर द बेसिक अप्रोचेज ऑफ आयुर्वेदिक अप्रोचेज ऑफ द नॉलेज, एंड दीज आर द बेसिक फंडामेंटल एंड रूट काज बिहाइंड द all the sciences or any science. So we must not say Ayurveda doesn't have any scientific temper. Just I am going to deal with some fundamental principles. Why I am going to deal with some fundamental principles? There is definition of the Siddhant. and it vividly describes and presents the ideology that how these things were observed. सिद्धांतो नाम सह यह परीक्षकैर बहुविधम परीक्षे हेतुभिष्ट साधयित्वा स्थापित निर्णय. What is Siddhant? Siddhir ante asma. What is finally proved, and it must be proved with the parikshikair bahuvidham pariksh, that should be observed by many examiners. Hetubhishta sadhitva sah yah parikshikair bahuvidham, that should be examined by many examiners, that should be examined in many ways, and then hetubhishta sadhitva sthapiti niraya, well established decision can only be taken into the consideration, and this is the Lok Purush Samya Siddhant. Siddhant means it has been observed. It has been observed in many fold. It has been observed by the many observers, and it was found true, and that's why it is Siddhant. First is the Lok Purush Samya Siddhant, principle of similarity of the universe and body. This is the unique feature of the Ayurveda. The constituent factor of the universe are the same as the body. यावन्ति भावाः मूर्ति मंतो लोके तावन्ति पुरुष यावन्ति पुरुष तावन्तु लोके. So constituent factors of the universe are the same as of the body. The functioning process is also the same. Body can be assumed as nutshell, a miniature replica of the universe. Our routine must be governed with the circadian and seasonal rhythms. When both the functioning of the external environment and internal environment are applying the same principles, so there must be a resemblance, a simulation between the universal and bodily mechanisms. So our routine must be governed with the circadian and seasonal rhythms. Then some other principles. If you are using the medicine, medicine must be similar to our body tissues, because the medicine is from the materials from the universe. That may be the plant origin, that may be from the mineral origin, that may be from the animal origin, and that may be synthetic. So each and every medicine must have a similarity with the body tissues. It must have some assimilation property to the body tissues. If it is not having the assimilation, it will create some problem. It is going to create some problem. So any material of the universe, if you are using for the development, maintenance, or restoration of the health of the human body or any body of any animal, it must have a assimilation compatibility with the body tissues. And if it is not, if you are using these things, that may be some food material, that may be some medicine, never take anything. Katham sarire doshanam vaishamyam na bhavet kvachit. At any stage, there must not be any rearrangement in the body tissues. So whatsoever you are using must have a similarity with the body tissues. So Lok Purush Samya Siddhant means the Lok is affecting the body and body is affecting the Lok, and anything from the Lok must have a similarities with the body tissues. If it is not having the similarities and property of the assimilation, it will create some problem. This is fundamental principles. These are some fundamental principles of the Ayurveda. Srishti Utpatti Siddhant, Atma Paramatma, Indri including Manas, Shad Padarth, Panch Mahabhut, Kal and Disha, Tridosh, Saptadhatu, Agni and Mana. The knowledge about these factors may be the fundamental for the knowledge of Ayurveda. So if you want to read the Ayurveda properly, at least you must read must have a basic knowledge about these things. And if you are not having a fundamental concept about these things, it will be little bit difficult to explain or to conceive the principles or the causes ongoing in the Ayurvedic phenomena. So these are the fundamental principles. This is the approach of health. In Ayurveda, there are two types of approach to the health. One is the personal and social approach, and second is the medical interventional approach. Mind it, first one is the personal and social approach, and that was called the Swasthavritta and Sadvritta. If you are going to be healthy, if you want to be healthy, it is you responsible for your health. It is your society responsible for your health. It is you and your society responsible for your growth, development, and well-being. It is not the physician, it is not the surgeon, it is not the hospital responsible for your health. Mind it, it is the first approach of the Ayurveda that you and your society is the most nearest cause towards your health. So it is you to do. It is your society to do. Nowadays, more than 80% diseases are now being said that these are the lifestyle mediated diseases. Means we are responsible for these diseases, and the input of the trauma center, the 95 input of the trauma center is only our ego, only our wrong approach to the society. हम किसी के साथ जरा भी सिमुलेशन में नहीं रहना चाहते. हमारा अहंकार आगे, आपकी गाड़ी मेरे से आगे कैसे? We are doing the accident, we are doing the negligence, we are doing the improper conducts, and that's why we are increasing the load of the hospitals and trauma centers. So the first approach is not just a common approach of the Ayurveda. It is very important, very significant approach of the Ayurveda. 80% of the medical budget and 95% of the budget of trauma centers is only due to this first approach. So personal and social approach of the Ayurveda, that is the Swasthavritta and Sadvritta, must be given a due consideration if you want to make our society healthy. And second, the medical interventional approach. I used to say this approach is the failure of the approach first. If you are using the medical interventional approaches, it is the failure of the approach 1, or less than 1% cases, it is a direct approach. So the basic approach of the health of Ayurveda is first one, the personal and social approach, and then if it fails due to some reason, then only we have to implement the second, medical interventional approach. This is the example of the some basic approaches of the health. Hitashi Shat, Mitashi Shat, Kal Bhoji Jitendriya. It is to you. It is you to use these things. Naro hitahar vihar sevi samikshakari vishesh shakta data sama satyapara chamaman aptukta sevichi bhavate roga. It is declaration. That person who is involved in suitable or beneficial diets, regimes, who is always considerate to the events, who does not have attachment to the subject of mind and sense organs, who is generous, calm, truthful, and have forgiveness, does not fall in diseases. Either we have tried to do any cohort study on this, either we have tried to do any RCT on this, no, because this is not going to provide any financial money. It is going to prevent the medical business. So no study on these things has been conducted till now. Matir bachah karma sukhanubandhi. One line approach, whose mind, body, and actions are intended to cause the happiness, whose mind is controlled and broad-minded, does not fall into diseases. So these are the Ayurvedic approach to make you healthy. And the treatment part is the failure of process 1. This is another part, because in Ayurvedic development process, there is the disease is derangement of the dhatus, then diseases are the derangement of the doshas. The treatment is the rearrangement of dhatus and doshas. These are the causes behind the disease. So these are also causes behind the disease. 𝐻𝐿 संयोग प्रज्ञा पराधीन परिणाम. I am leaving these things. One thing here I want to emphasize something. We have many factors responsible for the diseases. It is bacteria, it is the virus, it is particular chemical, it is particular enzyme, it is particular activity. But very or rarely we have taken the factor time as the causative factor for the disease. And just you can see how this time factor was taken into the consideration in Ayurvedic and Indian sciences. They have just created the time clusters. I'll call them as Satyug, Kalyug, Dwapar, Treta. Satyug, Treta, Dwapar and Kalyug. And all the changes in the mind, body, thinking, thought process of the people of that era has been described. Mind it. This is the Satyug. Satyug Sabyogi Jnani Vijnani. The thought process has changed. Each and every person is following the path of truth, path of renouncance, akrodh. All the things are being followed without any upadesh, only due to the effect of that time factor. Treta, it decreases. Dwapar, it decreases. And Kalyug, our body status, our state of diseases, our state of health, our state of thought process, that has changed. Who has changed? Any social change factor? Any Andolan? Any Big Bang? No. It is the time factor which is changing our state of the mind. So society, all the features of the society is being changed from Satyug to Treta. So Kal factor has been taken into the consideration in Ayurvedic. I don't think any other science has taken the Kal factor as the factor changing the things. In medical science, as the cause of diseases, or in social science, as the cause of changes of the society. So it is the unique feature of the Ayurveda that the time factor has also been taken into the consideration that it changes the things. And the main property of Kal is to change, parinam pradan karna, and are subject of cognitive and cognitive organs. What we are going to observe or what we are going to do is the main thing behind the diseases. How we are conceiving or how we are producing, both the factors are responsible for our miseries and pleasures. So these both factors are rarely taken into the consideration for the disease or the health process in any science. So this is classification of the disease. Sadhya, asadhya, sukh, which is sadhya, yapya and pratyakya. It is just to impress that it is not an empirical science. Each and every factor has been discussed properly. The process of treatment, it is not only based on the Yukti Vipassana, but Daya Vipassana and Sattva Vajra. These two processes are also there in the treatment modality of the Ayurveda. These are the medicine. So if anyone says that no Shastra Pranidhan is there in Ayurveda, each and every text loudly speaks that there is the surgical methodology included. We are having the interventional process. An interventional process, that is the Antah Parimarjan, that is the external use, internal use and surgical methodology. So these three types of the treatment processes are going on from very initial Charak Samhita up to this stage. So I'm just concluding some unique features. It is the science to maintain your life comfortable within this world and beyond this world, with longevity. Vakshati and Manusyanam Loke Upayogita. It is a holistic science. It respects the relationship between universe and human body. Yavanti bhava amurti manto loke tavanti gosha yavanti gosha tavanti loke. The universe and body affect each other. It commands to make authenticity of the verse by observation and examination. परीक्षकारुणो हि कुशला भवन्तु. सिद्धांतो नाम सह्य परीक्षकैर् बहुविधं परीक्ष हेतुभिश्च साधयित्वा स्थापिति निर्णय. They are the pretty good amount of the examples for this. It provides ethics to the common people as well as to the physician. First ethic to the common people. Ethics to the physician. How you have to behave and how you have to do. Here the decisions are made by the intelligent observation and progress in knowledge is accepted. Yes, it was very common question that पुस्तक में लिखा है अब इसको परिवर्तित कैसे करें. आयुर्वेद ने ऐसे को स्वीकार नहीं किया है. If your observation is not in the coincidence with my observation, you stick with your own observation or do the process again. त्रीणि षष्ठीनि अस्ति शतानि वेदवादिनो भाषन्ति. In Charak Samhita and Vedvadi, they accept the 360 bones. But Salya Tantre tu Trineo Shatani. There are only 300 bones in the Salya Tantra. And Ayurveda Indriyani Bhautikan. Indriya Ahankarik hai, but they say. So the progressive observations has also been included. There is no restrictions to include them. General to expertise and referral system is indicated. The excellent observation about all the branches has been provided to get guidelines and act with knowledge and wisdom. Shastram Jyoti Prakashikam. It doesn't say I have written, follow step by step it. No. शास्त्रम ज्योति प्रकाशकम. जैसे एक दीपक प्रकाशित होता है, उसकी रोशनी में हम देख करके अपने ऑब्जर्वेशंस के अनुसार अपना कार्य करते हैं, ऐसे शास्त्र में लिखे गए जितने वचन हैं वो दीपक के प्रकाश की तरह से हैं. उसके प्रकाश में आप अपने ज्ञान और बुद्धि के अनुसार ऑब्जर्वेशन करके रोगी की चिकित्सा और रोगी के स्वास्थ्य का ध्यान रखें. These were the some basic observations about the Ayurveda. So thank you very much for your patience listening.